Okay, welcome everybody. Trey is going to be late tonight. Um, he got caught in a storm, and isn't that something? Every week we have a storm right on schedule, and I think you guys are going to like tonight. We've got another legend, um, Kayak Kevin Whitley, and he's down in the southeast part of the United States, and you can see by the graphic there he has caught some big fish, but also his adventures. So those of you that like adventure, you're in for a real treat tonight. And I just returned from Texas, 2 weeks down there, the Bassmaster Kayak Series. Congrats to all the people that were in that. It was pretty cool. And then the Kayak Adventure Series, Drew Gregory. If you guys want to fish a really cool event, that Kayak Adventure Series is really neat. And there's one nearby here, Nebraska. I think the next one's on the East Coast, and there's one up in St. Cloud, Minnesota this summer was going for smallies. So, and then, of course, the weather here has been up and down. I went out today and practiced that live scope. That was pretty fun, and I caught some fish that way. But without further ado, we're gonna bring Kayak Kevin in. Trey will be on. We'll add him in and go from there. So I know a lot of you gonna want to watch this one tonight. Let's see, or let me get him in here. All right, okay. So welcome, Kayak Kevin. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, man. I'm happy to be on for sure.
Yeah. Now, the first thing we got to talk about, though, this is interesting. I don't think this has ever happened. Is we've got two nicknames here because of course, your name is in yours and my name is in mine. I am Marty Hughes, but my first name is Jack and your first name is Kevin, and
Yeah.
Kayak Jack and Kayak Kevin. Let's hear how you got your nickname.
It was really early on, and there was a local radio show, AM morning, Saturday morning radio show called Catching with Captain Reese. And I used to just call in because I used to listen to that. This is before internet, right? So this is the only information you had to really kind of search it out.
Yeah.
So listen to that, kind of get the reports and kind of what's happening. And I was just learning. And so I start calling in just to give my reports of what I was doing that week. What I was probably going to do that weekend. And I just kept calling. Eventually, instead of just keeping, every time I introduced myself, hey, I'm Kevin, fishes off a kayak, just said Kayak Kevin one time, and that stuck. That kind of was a good moniker and stuck with it right there.
Yeah. So you actually said it, and then people started calling you that, then, right?
Yeah. And it was just perfect for the radio because it was here's Kayak Kevin instead of going here's Kevin, that guy fishes my kayak.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And it's stuck ever since, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And so mine's a little bit different. Of course, my first name's Jack, but not many people know that or even knew that then. And I would go to school. I was a teacher, and I would go to school, and my superintendent would make fun of me for kayak fit. He just in fun, he'd say, "Hey, Kayak, how'd the fishing go last week?" And he always called me Kayak all the time. And then one day in a meeting, he said, "Hey, Kayak Jack, get in here. We got to get going." And everybody turned their heads like, "Who's that?" And he said, well, his real name is Jack. And so then everybody started calling me Kayak Jack, and that stuck ever since. And so then we started Kayak Jack Outfitters and all that. And of course, he wanted royalties from anything that I ever made, so because he came up with it. So it's kind of cool. We got two names tonight with Kayak in them, and I don't know if many people out there have Kayak in their nickname.
Right.
There's a lot of nicknames out there, I know, and for the guys at Kayak. And one thing about it is you really don't make up your own nickname. Somebody usually makes it up for you anyway. So, and of course, you're about the radio show. So where are you living right now, Kevin?
I'm in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. So it's right at the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. If you look at the bay, that north-facing shoreline is Norfolk and Virginia Beach, and I live on the Norfolk side. So basically, it's just 7 miles from the bridge that goes across the mouth of the bay. And so I'm right here in the epicenter of the really good fishing spot here in the bay.
Oh, wow. So interestingly, believe it or not, I mean, I live in Nebraska, but I was born in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Yeah. You know exactly where I'm at. Yeah.
And then my dad.
Did you spend any time here?
No.
Obviously, parents in the Navy. One of your parents in the Navy, right?
We went directly to Japan for a while, and Hawaii and California. But but my dad lived in California, Maryland for a long time before he passed away. And
Yeah.
so I have a lot of relation there in that area in Southern Maryland. You know,
Yeah.
my mom is from Maryland. My dad was from Michigan.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, and the thing is that I know you fish a lot because you have a ton of is that you and Dean, you know Dean Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are kind of alike in your pursuit of the variety of fish, you know. Some guys, you know, some people like once we get into more people, there's going to be some that are just strictly bass or freshwater.
Right.
But you guys are like, you know how to catch everything, you know.
Well, there was that expert angler chase, and
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
to be able to do something like that, you had to like be a virtuoso and everything in the bay.
yeah, and
To be able to catch, six citation, six trophy size species. And, it could be any species that they've have citation size for,
yeah,
and to be able to pull that off within a year. And
yeah,
we have in Virginia we have that expert angler and master angler, but the expert angler is harder because you have that time limit. Master angler is 25 fish over a cumulative time. You can
yeah,
take years to do it. You just have to catch minimum of five different species over that time. But
uh,
the expert anglers a year. You have, January 1st to December 31st to finish it. And that's tough. It's real tough.
wow, that's pretty neat. You know, like in Nebraska, we have the trout slam. You try to get the trout slam,
Yeah.
force the trout. So you've accomplished that because I read about it. But didn't you get both of them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I eventually got the expert
yeah.
angler. I got or the master angler. I got the expert angler in 2000, uh, 8, I think. And then I got expert angler again the next year later. So the first one was hard, right? I was
Mm.
taking off days of work to finish it and stuff, and it was like and the tautog was the last one, and that's a hard one. And the day I got it, so I've got everything else. I've
Yeah.
targeted that year. I think I got a red drum, sheep's head, flounder, which was a hard one. I've never caught another trophy size flounder again. It was just a tough catch to get.
Wow.
Actually caught that in the Minor Merrimack Bridge, further inland on the James River.
Yeah.
Um, what else? Yes. I think a striper that year. I forgot. Should have written this stuff down before I got on here. I haven't thought
Yeah.
about it in a while.
We're just having a conversation, man.
Yeah. And a spot. So a spot is a small fish. The
Yeah.
trophy size is 12 inches, right?
Yeah.
So we used to have a spot run coming through here, and I was able to get on one that like I was working at a marina, and the guy caught one like right over the bridge, right at the bridge,
Yeah.
and that night I went and got it. So it was like that kind of inside information, like working in the industry kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So when you went after these trophy fish, did you know which species you were going for, or did you, like,
Yeah.
randomly catch them?
No, lined it up the whole year. I was also part of the tagging program previous to that too.
Mhm.
So got involved with the tagging program, and that was great for because this is all like, I'm learning, right? So
Uh,
my goal my goal. I tell people this at just beginning. You got to set a goal, and you kind of have to be a realistic goal, but you have to like
yeah,
really go at it.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
really, I was fucking obsessed with that shit. I was diehard obsessed with it. So I mean, I did fishing logs, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Everybody says do fishing logs. Probably,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
do.
I do
Yeah,
it more now with video, but back then I did fishing logs. So my goal like 5 years, I want to be able to, dip my finger in the water, taste the water, and go, "There's a red drum over there. There's a flounder over there." Right? I want to
yeah,
be at that type of level, and
yeah.
kind of got there because I can smell them. I can almost sense. There's been
Wow.
video that I've sensed them, and the way we film videos, I film the whole day basically, and I take that area, so I have all that time before you catch a fish, and that's like some crazy time because there's some magic that happens there. And like
Mhm.
there's one of the videos I know they're here. I can see them coming around. I can feel it. They're all around I can feel it. No fish finder. You can just
Yeah,
feel it,
right,
and then
right.
boom, get one.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So, okay, so
Because that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to get to. Right. I wanted to get to that. So
yeah,
doing the fishing logs and then getting involved in a tagging program because that gave you a plethora of information, right?
mhm,
They had all these books that you could get being in the tagging program. You got these books and this years of citation data, just
mm,
years and years of data. So I just dove
wow,
into that and just learned as much as I wanted as I could.
Yeah.
And, all the way into like temperatures and breeding patterns and just if you want to learn how to fish a certain fish, you just got to learn that fish.
Yeah.
You
Right.
got to understand
Right.
what that thing is. And then even when I've done seminars and shit, I've tell people you got to think like them, right? You got to
Yeah.
get into their mind. And for instance, trout or red drum, right? Um, you look at the shape of their face and you can tell where you need to target. Like just at the beginning, you just where am I going to throw my lure at this fish to try to catch this fish? So red drum, underslung mouth, bottom, right? You want your bait on the bottom.
Yeah.
Trout, or lower jaw that sticks out there, looking up top, right? So you want your
Yeah.
middle water column to the top water.
That's it.
So that's
Yeah.
just a good beginning way of starting to like look at them. But then you can get into their
Mhm.
predatory skills
Mhm.
and studying that, just studying being a predator and how these fish, because we're all targeting basically predators.
Mhm.
So learning that aspect of it, and having a cat is a good way of learning that.
Mhm.
Just playing with a cat
Oh, yeah.
and taking
Oh,
a
yeah.
string and
Oh, yeah.
pulling it under something. The cat might not be interested in that shit at all, and all of a sudden it disappears from his sight. He's going to dive on it, and
Isn't
that's
that
that's a
something? The same with
bait
our dog.
escaping.
I do that with our dog all the time and try to do stuff like that.
Yeah,
Now, back to the goals, even for me, I have a goal of trying to catch the yearling bass,
yeah.
2025 bass this year. I think it's important that you do
Woo!
that. Yeah. No, I
Dude, that
go,
was 2025 bass.
hey, Kevin, I've done it the last 2 years.
No shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, actually, Kevin, are you ready for this? Okay, I gotta go back. I gotta tell you how this happened. Back in the day, my boys and I went to an athletic banquet. A friend spoke there, and he talked about outrageous goals. We went home. One of my sons set a goal to make 75,000 basketball shots in a summer. The other one, 400 miles running. And they both made it. They said, "Dad, what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to try to catch the yearling fish." I failed miserably. Just fish, any species. This is
Right.
2014. Yeah. The second year, I missed it again. Now, they accomplished great things through their goals. I didn't accomplish anything. The third year I
How
made it.
close did you get? Did you
I
get close?
1,700, 1,700, I
Yeah.
think it was. I've got a whole list on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then, I made it, I kept making it, and then I missed it 1 year, and then, about 4 years ago, I said, "Okay, I'm just gonna go for bass," 'cause it was too easy to catch 22,000, 20 something species or whatever. So, uh, I did. I made it, and then Dwayne Wally, who runs Tourney X, said, "Hey, Marty, let's make this a national challenge." So we made it free, and I had 245 people join, trying to catch 2023 bass,
Damn.
and I'm the only one that made it. Nobody else made it. And then last year we had 100 and something, and I made it again. And this year I'm doing it again. But this year I got some serious dudes. They've already got a whole bunch, and it costs $5 to do it. But that's one of those things, like you say about the goals. It's not a citation or anything, but you do earn a kayak cushion because you're on your butt so much in the kayak. You deserve something like that. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, like hearing you speak about what you're doing with the species, we almost did a species contest where you just log a species and put it on Tourney X and see how many you can get. How many species have you caught, do you think, in your life?
I tried to when I've done a tour, I would kind of keep the log of what kind of fish I was catching, and there was
Yeah,
like maybe 30 fish, different species, like when I went to Florida or something like that.
yeah,
Those type of
yeah.
things. Um, I don't know, probably not a lot of different species. Not like you bycatch and stuff. You got to count that stuff, right?
Mhm,
Yeah, like the small stuff
mhm.
that gets on, so you probably count that.
Yeah,
And when I was tagging, and that doesn't really count because I'm not really catching. When I was tagging my buddy's fish too.
yeah,
So it was a
yeah,
competition within the tagging program to see how many, who's the top tagger of that
yeah,
year.
yeah.
And there was one guy that was like always at the top because he was on the pier and he tagged everybody on the pier, right?
Oh,
He
yeah,
gets thousands of tags, but it was like okay, everybody but him. So second down, right?
yeah,
Who's the top tagger? No. one year I got the most sheep's head because we went to this jetty and we had a bunch of small sheep's head. It was like these are great for tagging because we can see where
Yeah.
they're going to go, and
Yeah.
we just tagged like 200 out of that spot. And
Wow.
it's funny, one day we saw an osprey come down, grab one, and take off with it, and had a tag out of it. And I was like, "Whoa! Turn that tag in, you can get a T-shirt."
Wow. So, but you targeted though trophy size species.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what you did.
yeah,
Now we're going to get into the
yeah.
tools in a minute. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, talking about the scheduling that out. See, around here, I mean, you guys realize it's not like Florida where you have seasons, right? So
Yeah.
we have migration. So
Right.
we have a certain time of year that fish are going to come in, a certain time of year fish are going to go out, and you kind of hammer them here at the mouth of the bay
Right.
as they're coming in or out.
Right.
And then even where they're going to summer. So where the bigger fish are going to summer, like up in the bay, I went up, towards Maryland, not in Maryland, but up there, York River area, just try to target the trophy trout that move into the grass flats up the mouth of up into the bay for the
Mhm.
summertime. But then on the way out, we can catch them at the mouth of the bay, because
Yeah.
they're coming out. It's fall, so they're
Yeah.
eating up the food because they got to travel down south. So they go all the way to North Carolina and go into North Carolina sounds. So,
Mhm.
our North Carolina fish and Virginia fish are the same fish. We share the same
Yeah.
fish.
Yeah.
'Cause they migrate to and from each other. Inland sounds of North Carolina in the Chesapeake Bay in the summertime.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be lining up that whole year. And as soon as I got that trophy, I quit that species and go on to the next one. Right?
Okay.
It was immediate.
Yeah.
Boom, got them, paperwork in, boom, next one, next target on it, and hammer it until I got it.
Yeah.
And then that last one is the worst one of them all. And
Hmm.
it was at Tautog. And so we're at the bridge, Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. So it's a structure fishing, right? So Tautog are structure fish. You're in the structure, in big, in the rocks and stuff. And a boat right next to me caught a good one, right? And I was like, that's close, right? That was a close to citation. And I hooked one, broke them off, and it was a big one, right? I knew it. That was my ticket. That was my ticket. And I broke them off, and I was about like on crying level, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
that's upset where I was like crying level. I was just like, pull it together, keep fishing. It's not tide's not done yet. You're still in the window, right?
Yeah.
Keep go at it, and got them.
Wow.
And that paddle back was the most triumphant paddle back I've ever had, right?
Yeah.
That I did it. And I was the first one to ever do it out of a kayak. So
Wow.
the pressure was fucking on, right? If I didn't make it this year, like somebody's going to try it next year and
Yeah.
I'm going to have to compete with somebody, right?
Yeah.
I already got to compete with the goddamn year to try to do this thing in these species out of a kayak that nobody's done before.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to be the first ones and all that pressure was on. But when I got it, it was over, and
That's pretty cool.
and would never want to do it again, right? That's
Yeah.
how it was the hardest thing I've ever done in a kayak, right? All the tours and all that stuff, accomplishing an expert angler, not even mastering, expert angler was way, 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 way hard.
Yeah.
And then I did it again the second year just by following the same patterns.
That's pretty cool. So what we want to do though is go back.
Actually,
Well, obviously you're very knowledgeable about the fishing part of it because just listening to you, and you learned a great deal through your years. How let let's tell everybody how you started. What got you into kayak fishing? And when you first started, what first of all, what year do you think you started kayak fishing?
2021. I
So
mean, yeah, 2001. 2001.
2001. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how
Yeah.
did you get into kayak fishing?
I was a musician. And so that part of my life was kind of on the downhill, right? I was kind of like, I was getting over it. I was getting over the bar life. I was playing in 3 bands at one point, never saw a sunset. I was just in a practice room and kind
Mhm.
of got over it. I was kind of getting to the end of it. I was about, I was 30 and, I was just kind of wanting to get out. And so I looked at doing a tour, a kayak tour. Most people at that stage would do like the Appalachian Trail, right? Or drive across country
Yeah.
or some shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Um, my, I don't have good knees or ankles. That's why I'm a good kayaker, because my knees and ankles suck. And I'm not a good mechanic, so I wouldn't drive across the fucking country because wouldn't make it. Right? That wasn't a possibility either. So no mechanics and no walking. And when I was a kid, my dad would take me. We would go canoe the James River, like the upper part of the James River.
Uh-huh.
So I'm living in Norfolk. I'm always been around water. Always, love the water. So join the Marine Corps just to be around water and shoot a bunch of guns. and and so I knew I just wanted to be around water, and I knew about the intercoastal waterway. So I kind of figured, well, that's kind of like the water equivalent to the Appalachian Trail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but I didn't like sit inside kayaks. I didn't like sit inside kayaks. I had, just didn't like that feel. So
Mm-hmm.
around that same time, 2000, 2021, Ocean Kayak started coming out with better boats, right? Not just direct
Mm-hmm.
boats.
Yeah.
They came out with a boat called the Manta. It's a
Mm-hmm.
16-foot long
Mm-hmm.
touring sit on top.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it was a hybrid. You could actually put a cowling on top of it and turning into a sit inside. But you still had a deck and all that stuff, but it had two hatches and a lot of space inside.
Yeah.
And a 16-foot. So I looked at that. I was like, well, that might be the ticket to kind of do this water Appalachian Trail thing, right? Um, so I got that and started. I did it. I got the kayak, and then it was 3 years until I went on the tour, my first tour. But during that time, so I got water real close to where I had the kayak, and would take it down to water and just started to learn how to paddle. And no internet, right? No community. I was just no one. I had no friends who did it or anything.
Yeah.
Nobody who did it.
I get it.
So just had a I just had a book on kayak touring that I got at the local shop, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I learned how to paddle, by reading that. So it was a
Yeah.
touring style paddle stroke, and that's how I developed that. But it took me 3 years to figure that shit out. It took me a long time to actually, but when I was on tour, I finally got smooth. I was beating the shit out of the water before that,
Mm-hmm.
just beating it. And then one day I saw a kayaker pass me and he was quiet. I was like, damn, okay, I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
Learn how to not beat the water up.
Yeah.
So finally smooth that out on the tour. But yeah, I got into kayak fishing just by being in the kayak because I didn't fish before.
Yeah.
So basically my third time paddling around ever in a kayak, I took a fishing rod with me. I'll say my goal today is to go out to this jetty and fish, like catch a croaker,
Yeah.
bottom fishing like you would
Yeah.
as a kid. And
Yeah.
that's what I did
Oh,
as a kid. That's probably the most extensive of most fishing I've done.
yeah.
Grandfather had a boat. We would troll for bluefish, but we never did like, real targeted stuff. Real simple stuff.
Yeah.
So we went out there, and the first time the day 3 in the kayak, I caught a fish, and I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is really cool
Yeah.
because I'm right on the water. I mean, my foot's in the water. Everything's right here. You're like connected to the water. In a boat, I feel disconnected because I'm
Right.
not right in
Right.
it.
Right.
And so I just thought that was really cool. And then, like the next year, the Ocean Kayak catalog came out, and Jim Salmon's picture. He had a picture in that catalog of him and a drifter getting pulled by a big pelagic fish. So I
Yep.
forgot. He told me what it was. It was like, I think it was mighty yellowfin. But you could see the waves coming off the kayak,
Yeah.
right? So I could see he was getting pulled, and I
Right.
was like, look at that. Get pulled around in these things.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to get pulled around,
That's
right?
awesome.
Because you even with little fish, you can feel the start pulling. They pull you a little bit. So I kind of felt that, but I was like, oh, you can do big fish out of these things and really get going. So the whole game was a fucking try to get going with a fish, and
Right.
so so and this is like 2002, 2002. There was still not there wasn't even kayak fishing here, right? It wasn't even a sport
Right.
at this point.
Right. Right.
Um, it was out there in California and Texas, but it hadn't really gotten here yet.
Now it was in
No internet and
Nebraska.
all that stuff.
Yeah. It was in
Huh?
Nebraska because I started in 98, 97, 98.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you were doing it. You didn't know I was doing it. You didn't know Jim Sammons was doing it at first, or Dennis Spike,
Yeah.
but we all had our little silos where we just started doing it. Isn't that
Yep.
something?
Well, because there was no connection, right? There was
Right,
no
right,
internet. There was no way
right,
to find out.
right.
The only way I saw Jim Sandwich was he was in the catalog.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That was my only window to it. I was like,
yeah,
oh shit, look at this.
yeah. I found them on the internet, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
found
I
them.
didn't have I didn't
Yeah,
have internet till 2006.
yeah.
So I was like,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, and just like you, my second time in the kayak, I had a little otter kayak with a whole the sit inside. My second time,
Mhm.
took a fishing pole, and it was game on. I mean, after that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was like, oh yeah, this is almost like what this shit's made for. Like you're right here by the fish. It's like
yeah,
you don't have to worry about bumping into shit. I work at a marina, and you can't touch a boat for not $1,000 bucks. You can't put a dent in it for oh, that's a ten
yeah,
thousand dollar fucking bump into a piling, right?
yeah,
First thing I do when I get a brand new piling is run that shit right into something.
yeah,
Just run it right into something. Okay, got that out of the way.
yeah. Wow.
People get all like, oh, but you rub them against the pines. They're perfect for out of the water structure fishing. It was so simple, right?
Yeah,
It was just so simple and natural feeling.
yeah,
Just to
absolutely.
hook a fish right there at the water, and you're right there on top of the water. You're almost part of it, but not really in it. But you're right there with it. Yeah, yeah. You
Mhm.
could feel everything. You could feel every bit, a little bit of current, and every little boil. Any
Right.
wind sucks. Wind's always sucked, but
Yeah. Yeah. So you started kayak fishing, you paddled and you kayak fished, and then I read an article where you took a tour by yourself around the tip of Florida all the way up the coast on the east side. Tell us about that story.
yeah, back to Virginia. So that was my third tour. I did my
Okay,
first tour was from the Florida Georgia border back home.
okay,
So it was from the border of Georgia and Florida, back here to Norfolk.
okay.
And again, no internet, right? No real good information on stuff. I didn't realize they had 10-foot tides until I launched.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I'm used to 4-foot tides. I was not ready for that shit. I did no idea. I saw how fast the current was running. I was like, yeah, that's pretty fast. But I already had the timing, so I knew what to do timing wise.
Yeah,
Um, but that first day, I got sucked out into the ocean, crossing the sound right below Jekyll Island in Georgia. It's a 3 mile inlet, basically, right? It's a 3 mile opening between the two islands.
yeah.
And I thought the tide was done. I was at the beach on Cumberland Island, looking at the tide, and I was like, okay, it looks like it's done. This is my like first day out, first day out on this tour, on a tour, and I start to go, and the currents got me, and I didn't realize, and I'm heading east, and I get out, and by the time I got to like over behind this shoal where I had a little bit of an eddy out of the current and able to angle back in again, I could see the entire front of the Jekyll Island. I was like, shit, I am in the fucking ocean, right? So I keep going, and now I'm just digging in. At this point, I'm strong. I'm not a great paddler at this point, but I'm strong as shit, so I can just go, right?
Yeah.
So I just start going. Had to go through a shoal, which was super sketchy because I thought I was going to get dumped on that one. Made it, and it, I made it to the other side, and the current was still going out. I was like, I had this all completely timed out wrong. So that was the first day. Third day in, I camp on a marsh grass that I thought that was going to be out of water at high tide. Get my tent set up because I'm still not used to these gigantic 11 foot tides. It looked like, oh, that's gonna be out of water. So I get my tent out. It's middle of the night, and I wake up with dolphins like right next to me. And
Jeez.
I hear dolphins blowing. Just man, I was like, shit, that sounds pretty close. And I wake up and I'm in a waterbed. Right, the
Oh,
entire tent because it's waterproof is lifted up. My butt's on the ground, but everything else is basically floating. I'm like, oh shit! So I get out of the tent, gun, light, shine it around, 3 gator eyes at
oh
me,
man.
just looking at me. Right. So I'm like, shit, all right, I guess I'm just out here waiting on this. So I waited for the tide to finish coming up and then finally going down, shrimp biting my ankles the whole rest of that for those 2 hours. Gators trying to shoo off gators, probably because I could see their eyes. Yeah. So that was my third night.
Wow.
Third night on the first tour.
Okay.
So 5 days in, I finally have this moment of what am I doing out here, right?
Yeah.
The first tour, what am I doing out here? And it's like I'm never gonna do this shit again, or this is gonna be like what I'm gonna be doing, right? This was that point, and I kept on paddling. About an hour later, I was like, yeah, this is too good. This is too good out here. So yeah, that was my first tour. That was the kind of the craziness of my first tour, right at
Wow.
the beginning. Just
So
green going into big shit.
Chad Hoover says it was originally the HRBT Bandit. What's that about?
Yeah, that was my original nickname.
Oh,
So 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 I did that first tour in 2003. By 2004, kayak fishing kind of started hitting here, right? So
yeah,
it
yeah,
started to kind of like pop off. More people were doing it, and finally, it was cool for me because finally I get to hang with some people, right? Um, a group called Tidewater Kayak Anglers Association started up
yeah,
right then. It was like 20 members,
yeah,
and so we finally had started people to hang out with, and that's where I met Rick Burnley.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Wow.
So when I met Rick Burnley, I was like, okay, this is my guy because he knows
Yeah,
this fishery. Right. At this
yeah.
point, my goal is I want to catch these bigger fish and
Okay.
get yanked around. Right. I want to find these bigger fish.
I want to stop you right there
And
for a second. I want to stop for a
uh,
second. You keep remember what you're saying. Rick Burnley, you guys, is like the editor for Kayak Angler magazine now. And then also we have Trey Dawson on here, Kevin, and he's our host as well. And this is Kevin, Trey, and you.
what's up, Trey?
I'm gonna tell you something, Trey. He's got fascinating stories, man. Keep going, Kevin, on that story. Keep going.
So yeah, me and Rick meet up, and
Yeah,
our first day we meet at Rudy, kind of a TKA get together, and like so I know he's also a writer at this point. He's a writer for
yeah,
Fisherman Magazine, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
Delmarva magazine, regional. You probably know
yeah,
about it
oh, yeah,
from
yeah,
being in Maryland.
yeah.
So yeah, so Rick's from a writer family. His dad was a writer
Hmm.
for the In Fisherman and lots of other like the bigger publications and stuff
Hmm.
as an
Hmm.
editor writer.
Hmm.
So Rick is just like was right there with it. So I knew Rick knew how to catch like big red drum in the shoals, right? That was the first target was big red drum in the shoals.
Hmm.
Super sketchy place. Right? I love the action of the super sketchy place
Yeah,
and big fish.
yeah.
And no kayakers had really done it yet at this point, because it really wasn't any kayakers coming in. It was just started to hit around here. But he knew how to do it. So he knew the fishing stuff. I knew how to kayak and get around this stuff. So we kind of joined forces and learned,
Hmm.
basically blazed that trail how to do this stuff in
Hmm.
in this area. Um,
I see.
yeah, and so I remember going over his house for the first time, and he busted out charts, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, man! Now I'm in because I'm into it." So my entire wall in my room is maps and charts and shit. I look like a fucking psycho if you walk in there and looks. I get pinpoints of rivers I want to do. Yeah, it's nuts. So so as soon as he did that, I was like, "Oh, we're a team. I can already tell this is gonna be really good." So and we went out, and you caught like a 40 incher, and I was like, "Yeah, we did it," and just that was the beginning of it. And it's crazy because it's a super crazy place. I mean, the shoals. I mean, it's breaking ocean waves on shoals,
Yeah,
giant current from the eastern shore. You had to time it out right. You had to anchor, which is the most dangerous thing you can do in a kayak is anchor
absolutely.
off.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
so we were doing that in giant ocean breakers. It was nuts, but we calculated risks. We're both fairly smart. Rick's smart as shit. I'm fairly smart,
Yeah.
and we figured out just the timing. Knew how to read shoals, right? I already knew that from my experience of getting in them and by accident, and he knew how to do them because he had fished there before in a boat before, so he had done it before, and so that's how we came together and really went out that first time, and it was exciting. It was exciting,
Wow.
and it had some crazy times out there since then, and
Yeah.
we kind of stopped doing that once we started to learn how to sight cast them later on. But on the second DVD, is some good footage of that place. Like we went out there on a pretty big day and got some good shit. It was super sketchy. Damien almost got wiped out. Yeah, it was good.
And what's really cool, Kevin, is that a lot of your stuff is recorded in articles, in video, things like that. And the same is true for a lot of us that started out in the sport. There's a lot of material out there, but nothing has really been put together into one comprehensive, say, book or whatever. Because, for instance, in
Yeah,
my case, I didn't see another kayaker for 7 years. You know,
yeah.
and it was a
It was
Hobie.
4 for me.
Yeah, and I'll bet
Yeah,
I'll bet the same is true with you. As soon as I saw it, I like beelined over there. I go, "Man, where'd you come from?"
yeah, yeah.
Same
Yeah,
thing?
and I think it was like 3 years. I saw somebody we were talking about the HRBT when I was right before, the time before when I was really learning. As soon as I got used to the boat and got used to paddle, I went out to the HRBT, which is Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, crosses from Norfolk to Newport News across the mouth of the James River. And started just whacking striper there. Striper would line up in the light line, right, the shadow of the lights from the bridge. It was a
Yeah.
real low bridge, vivid light line, and they would just stack up, and it was crazy. So I got really good at maneuvering a 16-foot kayak in pilings of current, and I loved it. Right, I loved the maneuvering part of kayaking, and so I got good at maneuvering a big boat, fishing out of it, targeting these fish and being real accurate and stuff. Um, but that's where my first nickname before the kayak came was HRBT Bandit, because I was, sneaky. I was in between the pilings. I was in the shadows.
Was
I'd come out and catch a fish, go back in the
wow.
shadows.
Was Rob Choi part of that?
Came a little bit later. He was almost
Yeah.
like the second generation of us. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I
yeah,
remember
he came in. Yeah,
I'm gonna have him on sometime, but I remember him posting a lot of pictures about that same bridge and catching
yeah,
those big fish there. Okay. That's a popular
yeah.
place, isn't it?
It was. They're building a new bridge on it now, and but even before that, those stripers weren't there as heavy as they were. I
Yeah.
think my theory is the creeks are getting healthier, right? So,
Mm.
less fertilizer shit in the fucking water or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I think those fish were out on the bridge because that's where all the bait was, because those areas weren't as healthy. So this was like their nursery. These are smaller striper,
Yeah.
teens, the 20s, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think when those areas got more healthy, the striper started naturally going into their spots where those are natural spots for them.
Yeah.
Same thing with the red drum. Red drum have been spreading further north into the bay and even further north into the ocean. There's been reports of, this is maybe 10 years ago, I heard these reports of big red drum schools, the big ones off of Cape May. And then when I did my, it hasn't been like regular as far as I know, but there's been some reports of people seeing them, and catching them.
Mhm.
Even up the Chesapeake Bay in way almost into like deep into Maryland now, you're
Yeah.
catching smaller reds moving up in that area.
Oh,
When I did that bay tour in 2010, the guys, it was like a little bit lower, and they were saying, yeah, we've just started seeing red drum here, puppy drum, the smaller ones,
mm,
um, uh, in the last 5 years, right?
mm,
Because I think the bay's getting healthier, population is getting bigger, so the spreading out.
mm,
Because people were complaining that they weren't always in Lynn Haven all summer, right?
mm,
In Virginia Beach, right here at the mouth of the bay. They were
mm.
complaining, oh, these fish used to be here all the time. I was like, well, they're up the bay now. Like they're
Yeah.
spreading out because they're getting more population of them. They're spreading
Mm.
out. Because those guys are seeing them further up there more consistently, more of them, and further up the bay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So Trey, what do you got a question for Kevin?
Interested in knowing what does it mean when they say sharks pupping? What is the pupping part? Uh,
They're giving birth.
oh,
They don't
so
lay eggs.
okay, so they say,
Yeah,
look, I had seen one photo that had said sharks pupping.
yeah.
So it's just kind of like a
It,
slang for that's just kind of when
no,
they
it's
spawn
just
out.
they're actually to give live birth.
Okay.
So what's crazy about these sharks, and we have them in video on the DVDs, at least the first one, I think. Um, they get on this flat, this big flat. We actually fish that area for red drum, but when the sharks get in there, the red drum are kind of getting out of there. But so they're in like 3 foot of water, so they're just constantly fins up, just cruising around, constantly fins up, and you just see them. And so as you see, you get that dun 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 when you start to see them. But and they'll come up and look at you, huh?
My other question, maybe I don't know if you guys have covered this, but I talk a little bit about your dad and Ken and how that was a really important part. I believe it's Camp Young, kind of
Yeah.
where you have some really cool stuff happening in Camp Young when you were younger. How like how impactful was your dad to you when it came to canoeing and just being on the water? And yeah, so
Yeah,
is
well,
that
being here in Virginia, both my grandfather had a boat. My dad was, we're all water, been around the water and stuff. But when Camp Young was a funny because you saw that picture. My dad was a counselor there, and it was for like underprivileged kids, right? So that type of thing. He would sneak me in. I wasn't supposed to be there, and he would sneak me in, and I would have to call him like Coach Whitley, just like everybody else, and pretend he wasn't my dad. But it was cool just to be able to be there because it was like
Wow.
it was a cool place. It was a camp that I could basically kind of sneak into. But we were talking before. My dad used to take me on canoe trips on the James River when I was a kid, like every summer from 5 to 10 or whatever, for a good couple of years there. So I always enjoyed that. So yeah, a lot of that. So definitely, and camping. My dad took me. This was crazy. My dad took me. I might have been 4 or 5. It was like small, like couldn't walk fast, small, right? That small, and went out to so south of Virginia Beach, basically the border of North Carolina and Virginia, out to the beach, and just we walked, and we're going to camp in the dunes, right? Walked forever. I was tired as shit. I was a little kid. We camped in the dunes. A storm comes through, knocks the tent down, right? We run out of water. We got to boil water to drink. So this is like my first camping trip I remember.
Wow. Wow.
So most people would be like, "Oh, I ain't doing that shit again," right? But I was like, "Yeah, it's just part of it," right? So I just camped this weekend, and it was 51 degrees and rainy where I was, and I was texting the guys at work, and it was 71 degrees and sunny at work, and they were like, "It's 51." It was like, "Oh, that must suck." I was like, "I've been through way, way, way worse."
Oh yeah. So I'm going to talk about this magazine article here. What's really cool is, just like you said, with the stealth of a ninja, Kevin Whitley eased the kayak between 2 pilings in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel. He dropped the bait straight down. Instantly, the fiddler crab was stumped by a big sheep's head, and the tug of war was on. That's kind of what you said. What magazine was this?
That I think that was actually Um, yeah, that was the last magazine I was interviewed in, I think, and that was 2015 or something like that.
Okay.
It was a kind of a bougie magazine. It's not even a fishing magazine.
Really?
It's kind of a local, yeah, it's kind of a local kind of kind of a hit magazine, which was hilarious.
I see. And then I got a few pictures here. So there's one. Is that looks like the cover of a magazine or something as
That's the
well.
DVD. That's my second
Oh,
DVD.
that's your DVD. So did you make these DVDs, or somebody make them for you, or
I made them.
you made them and you
I
sell
did
them?
everything on them. Yeah, yeah. Did it
Wow.
myself. My guys helped film, all that stuff, but I
Yeah.
edited,
Yeah.
I did all that stuff.
Now,
Yeah.
do you have a YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
What's
those
that?
DVDs are up there now. So those full DVDs are up there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here, let me go. There you go. Those are your DVDs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I did 4. The first one was kind of just a year overview
Mhm.
of, what we do,
I see.
what we like to do.
Yeah.
The second one is actually the touring video in chronological order. The touring video where I did the entire Chesapeake Bay. So that was 600 miles in 6 weeks, and I filmed that.
Shit.
The third DVD was the next 2 are more instructional. So
Uh-huh.
the second fishing DVD it was is summertime species. So
Uh-huh.
all the warm water species. So it's like the summertime stuff, all the species at the bridge, flounder,
Uh-huh.
sheep's head, triggerfish, red drum, spring striper, spring, that
Yeah.
type of stuff,
Where are
spring to
they
summer.
where are they for sale
And
at?
then the last one was winter stuff, and it just has two species,
Okay.
tautog and striper.
Well, okay. And where are they for sale at? Where do you sell them at?
My website, but nobody has a DVD player anymore, so that's
Yeah.
why I put them on YouTube.
Marty probably does. Maybe if you have
I
a
do.
VHS tape, he might still have a VHS tape.
I've got I still play hey, look at this. I
Well,
still
don't get him started, Kevin. Don't get him started, bro.
yeah, look at I have one. I have one.
Oh yeah,
That's a Dennis Spike DVD. That was the
yep,
thing back
yep.
then, Trey. Trey, I ordered all kinds of fishing DVDs.
I know you did. You got him signed and everything, bro.
What? How?
Hey, everyone, Dude could say, "Yeah, I put one out." It was like Marty's like, "I got it right here. It's right
Yeah.
here. Look, it's right here. I got it."
Yeah. And I got the
Hey,
books.
I mean, maybe you guys got into this, maybe you didn't, and I know we're kind of in a fishing story now. But what I want to know is who Kevin is. Like, are you married? Do you have any kids? What do you do besides fishing? Like, what is something you really enjoy to do that's not fishing? Like, what's one of your favorite things to do? What do you love to do, man?
Well, my lifestyle is kayaking, right? Kayak
Okay.
fishing is my lifestyle. That's
Yeah.
that's 100%. I work I'm a marina forklift driver, so
Oh,
I'm around the water, around boats, fishing. So I'm already kind of like right in there. So I move boats, so I lift people's boats. So fucking crazy ass job. It's for psychos. It's total psycho job. It's for psychos. You got to be a psycho to be good at it.
that's awesome.
and so I do that. No girlfriend, no wife, never been married, no kids. Just total kayaking bum. I like to shoot. I've been getting into back into shooting for the last couple of years, and that shit's expensive. But
Nice.
Uh,
my buddy Damien, he's in the second DVD. He's in the second and third DVD. He lives out in the country. He got a place out in the country, and he's got a backyard range. So we've got 10 steel targets, and we can do a lot of run and gunning. The only time I'm standing still is when I'm warming up, and then I'm moving, shooting the whole time.
Are,
Everything you can't do at a range, indoor range, we do out there.
wow.
It's
That's
great.
Are you related to Ted Nugent?
Looks just like
Yeah, you're,
But it's expensive, man. I mean, I went on like ammo diet that past winter.
wow. So,
But I tried, try to make it more affordable. I ended up getting a 9mm AR, right, a 9 PCC,
yeah.
and so that's pretty fun. So it's way cheaper than a rifle ammo, right? And plus our steel targets are mostly pistol rated, and we can shoot them close with that 9 too. So it's pretty
Now,
fun going around these little walls built up, go around the corner and pop, 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 pop. No,
wow.
it's real fun. It's a lot of
So
fun. It's expensive. Can't do it all the time.
do you pack a gun when you're on your kayak trips?
Yeah, especially ones down south. I was real worried about wild boar. That
Really?
was more of a concern than anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of those pistols got eaten up by the salt. So the last time I took a tourist judge.
Oh,
Those things suck to shoot. You ever shot those things?
no.
It's a 410 hand cannon.
Wow.
It's a 410 shotgun pistol.
Wow. Okay, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Kayak Bass Fishing and Tourney X, Dwayne Wally, Chad Hoover there, and then Little Miami Outfitters. They kind of sponsor our show here. And again, you guys, this is we're telling the history, the story of kayak fishing, and what better dude to have on tonight than Kevin Whitley. Trey, he has done it all. He's an adventurer, he's fished, and it's been documented. That's the cool stuff,
and he
So
got bit by shrimps. I didn't even know shrimps could bite you, bro.
They were, just trying to chew your hairs off or something. It's just like, little bait fish will
Like,
get on you and start
yeah,
picking
okay,
at you.
like yeah. We have
Yeah,
this
that type of
here
shit.
in Missouri, like literally, it's called a hillbilly pedicure. I would
Yeah.
go out here, I would take like a sandstone and sand my feet down and stick my feet
Get
off the dock. And bro, the fish would just swarm my feet and eat the
Yep.
dead skin off of it. It was so nasty, but it felt so good at the same time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Wow. Incredible
but
stories,
oh,
though.
talking about documenting everything. I wish I had video back when I did that big Florida tour. I was working up to a Florida tour, so I started on that first tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish I had video. I took a lot of pictures, but even still back then, I was using 35 millimeter, this waterproof cameras. So we didn't even have digital cameras back then. So I was
Yeah.
taking pictures, you know, mailing them home every time I make my stop. No cell phone, no
Yeah.
GPS, no cell phone,
Right.
no
Right.
no net, no
Okay.
safety net. I was from
Yeah.
when I
Now,
left, I would stop every week, to do laundry, refill waters. I use a phone card to call home and say, okay, I'm here. Next week, I'm gonna try to get here, right? And
dude,
no one know where I was between that time, right?
wow. Now,
Total out.
this has come up on about every show. Did you use the old Walmart disposable waterproof camera?
No, I think it was a Nikon.
Okay, so you had a
Yeah,
regular
so it was,
camera. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Because
Cool.
yeah,
Right.
and actually Rick turned me on to that because Rick was a
Right.
photographer and
Right.
all that stuff, so he led me to that, and that was
And,
because the disposable ones they didn't take that good pictures. I had those, I
yeah.
would buy those from Walmart and use them.
Yeah.
But when I got that, I would just get the film and I'd send that film back home and get it developed,
You bet.
and all that stuff. So
Now,
yeah,
ironically, Trey, every guest we've had on, except one, is a paddler still to this day. Isn't that something?
yeah.
Now, Chad's still kind of a paddler. He's got a motor, but he's a paddler. But some of
Yeah,
these guys have never had pedals or motors. They're paddlers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why there's one of the questions I get nowadays, which is weird, is like people ask me, "Are you a kayaker or angler?" They can't understand that I'm both.
You're a kayak angler. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't kayak before fishing. I didn't fish before kayaking.
Yeah.
It was all I learned. Everything I learned at fishing, I learned from the platform of my kayaks. There
Right.
is no other way I learned. I all
Yeah.
learned from that. So all my techniques, everything I learned was from that platform,
And
from that kayak.
so you come from a different cloth in the fact that, see, today, most of the guys we fish, like we fish a lot of bass tournaments and so forth, most of these guys and gals are anglers who got
Right.
a kayak or a platform to do that with. They are not paddlers. Trey,
Right.
are
Yeah.
you a paddler, Trey, or an angler?
I'm not trying to paddle anything, bro. I'm
Yeah.
trying to hit my
Right.
remote on my neck and go where I want to go.
Right. So basically, you see that's the difference in talking to you and the others that started almost 30 years ago or over 30 years ago, and that like the I'm trying to think of the word, but I'll think of it in a minute. But
And that's why I was so late today. I mean, I got caught in a really bad storm.
uh-huh.
I was out. I'm practicing live scope all week. It's what I've been doing after work. I've been out there just knocking crappie in the head with my live scope, just really getting good, getting it dialed in. And yeah, so it's a whole different age of fishing, right? So like I'm out there with the motor, with live scope, really just practicing on crappie right now. But yeah, I mean, it is. I don't always use it. I wasn't really good at it, but I'm getting better at it. So I do take advantage of the electronics. I've never actually done well and have been like, well, I did well because of my electronics. I feel like that's going to change one day, and I feel like it's coming to fruition now because I am getting better at not only presenting my bait where it needs to be, but I'm able to bring it to the fish thanks to electronics. So it is a different age. It is a
Now,
different.
what he said earlier too, Trey, Kevin said earlier, was about being close, being one with the water. That's the best part, is you're one with the water. And when you catch a fish, it's not like in a boat where like you said this, Kevin, you're separated from the water, and to hear you say that is like that touched me, because that's how I felt when I first started, kayak fishing as well.
Yeah.
So,
But I think that's where people that started like Kevin, that started in the salt, that started in these really the biggest water, the ocean, in these little in these little salt kayaks. I think that's something that they got, that the guy that just bought uh whatever from whatever place and is fishing lakes, fishing for bass or doing bass tournaments. there's a difference there, right? There was
Well,
something that he got when he was younger, growing up, started kayak fishing in the salt, catching these really really big fish, compared to the guy that's out there, trying to catch spots on a main lake point on Table Rock.
Yeah.
the difference is our environment is harsh, and we needed performance kayaks.
Right.
We had to have the performance, and that's what beats a lot of people around here. I mean, look at the what I would consider the best kayak anglers in the world, Hawaiians,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They fucking Pacific Ocean pelagics, tiger sharks, and most of those guys, especially at the beginning, were paddlers, ocean kayak paddlers, right? High performance kayaks, right?
Mhm.
Those are performance kayaks. Look at the guys in South Africa.
Mhm.
Those guys are using surf skis to punch
Mhm.
out through the surf because you can't do it with anything else.
Right.
You
Right.
have to be a good fucking paddler, a
Mhm.
really good kayaker. And that's one thing is like, I don't know if people can understand, but I'm a good kayak angler because I'm a good kayaker.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
all the same. It's
Mhm.
like if if you if if you just if you paddled, you would learn how to paddling out to your spot, right?
Mhm.
It's not like you have to learn this whole separate thing to be able to do this. It's all in there. It's
Mhm.
all, as you're going, you can concentrate on your stroke. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
you got 2 miles to go. You're going to have 45 minutes of paddle time to be
Right.
able to figure it out. Right.
Right. And
And it took me a long time to do it because I had no influence. I had a book and I watched the guy go past me one time and I just tried
right.
to I needed to get smooth. Right.
And
So
so,
it took me a long time, but now you can do it like a little bit quicker. I mean,
yeah.
you got video,
Yeah.
and you can look at,
Yeah.
yeah,
Same here is that we became more efficient as we did it more. I mean, I used a 220 centimeter paddle when I
yeah, me
started,
too.
but
I still do.
we're banging on the side of the kayak. When they came out with those carbon ones, it was like, oh my gosh, why
I,
was I
I,
even using
I
that?
still use short paddles. My
Really?
main paddles are 220. Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm also in narrower boats. None of my boats are over
Yeah.
30 inches,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So they're all 29 and under.
Yeah.
Even my whitewater boat's just at 30 inches.
Yeah.
My whitewater sit on top. I use a Piranha Fusion sit on top. So
Yeah. Speaking of
I'm
white,
all sit on
you're all
top.
sitting.
Yes. What's that?
I'm going to show you. Wait, I have a whitewater picture. I thought.
You had that big ass smallie. I know that's not a big smallie for your guys, but that's a fucking big smallie for
What do you
Virginia.
mean? That's a
Yeah,
big
it's a
That's a
21
big
and a half.
smallie. That's a big smallie.
Yeah.
That's a big small.
Yeah.
Where?
Thank you. Thank
Where?
you from guys that with original smallies fucking give me props for that shit. So many people are like, Virginia got no smallies, man. But see, here's the thing about East Coast smallies, right? They're not native here, right? They came through the Erie Canal. So they've only been here for like 200 years. So
Yeah.
Midwest guys go small, talk about the 20 fucking 3 inches and shit, but our citation is 20 inches. So
That's
that
a
kind of tells you
21.
where our range is.
Well, that's a 21 and a half.
That's a trophy
Yeah,
smallmouth,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Jody Queen is from Virginia, Trey. He's Jody Queen?
Yeah, I don't know him
Yeah.
personally,
You
but
know Jody Queen?
I don't know him personally, but I know him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
know
just
of
saw
him.
him the
Yeah,
other day in Texas. He was down there. Yeah, there's a lot of Virginia guys that fish cross country, you know.
yeah,
And then I had that whitewater picture though. Look at that. That's you. Is that Virginia?
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So
Wow.
most people think that's the mountains. That's not even the mountains. That's the fall line. So that's only 2 hours from me. So that's why I do it all the time because it's a day trip. It's nothing, 2 hour drive.
Yeah.
And so that's where I like to catch smallies. That's actual whitewater run, but my thing with smallies is I want to target them in whitewater runs. So
Oh
if you
man.
look at American Whitewater website, if it has a class 2, 3 rapid on it, I want to fish it at fishing levels. I'm not going to fish it at whitewater levels. I'm going to fish it at fishing levels, which would be low whitewater levels and then lower, right? Summertime levels. But yeah, yeah.
Man.
So, but also because it's such a drive for me. If I get skunked on the smallies, I still got the rapids.
You still got them having fun, it looks like. Now, there's a typical camping
Absolutely.
trip, right? Is that a typical camping
Yeah.
trip for you?
In the river. Yep. That's my river camping trip there.
Yeah. And you just kind of beach and get in your tent. What kind of food do you take with you?
Just camp food, a little pouch camp food. I think it's
Uh,
Peak is the brand I like.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Just
wow.
something simple like that.
So you
Not a
cook,
lot.
yeah.
Real simple. And
That's
it's just an overnighter, so it's not a
yeah,
long thing or nothing.
yeah.
You
But
don't eat them 21-inch smallies?
What's that?
I said you don't eat them
20 foot.
21-inch smallies?
Hell no. I
Ah,
was offended when I posted that picture and somebody said, that's dinner. I said, fuck no, it's not. You know how many baby fish that thing's going to eat? You know, I
right.
can't imagine taking a fish out of a river. I can't even
I
imagine that.
I think the whole thing with largemouth and black bass, I think it gets blown out of proportion. Yeah, I want to keep genetics in there, but I also feel like catch and release is actually hurting the population and the size of fish, where smaller fish can be kept and stuff like that. But I do, when it comes to smallmouth, I have a whole different opinion with it because we look at the lifespan of a smallmouth and how long it takes them to actually get that big, and
Oh, yeah.
especially that difference between we were talking, believe it to Little about this, between that 18-inch mark to that 19-inch mark. You can go out and catch a ton of 18-inch smallmouth, but you catch that 19-inch smallmouth, something happens. I don't know what it is, but something happens in that 1 inch from that 18-inch to that 19-inch. That's pretty
Yeah,
special.
you're
So
Yeah. Yeah. It turned into horses at that point, right?
So there's a How many have you caught some big tarpon?
dude, I want to catch one of
No,
them so bad.
that's the only one I've caught.
Really?
We do have them here in Virginia. I've targeted them, but it sucks. It's out there in the Eastern Shore in the middle of summertime, and you
Hmm.
see them rolling. You see them, but they're not catching. You're not getting any baits. You're fighting. If you're using live baits, you're catching ginormous car hood size rays and big sharks. So it's like it. I
Jeez.
did it for a summer. I was like, yeah, there's way more fun shit to do. That was on my Florida tour, and I caught that one from shore. I caught that one from the beach.
Jeez. Now,
And
are
it was not luckily a fast fight because he beat the shit out of me when I landed, trying to get the hook out of him. It was in like this little beach and it was like a current was coming through and there was an eddy. There was an eddy formed and he was hunting in that eddy. So I probably cast about 10, 12 times and got him. And he basically just flipped, 6 times in that eddy and stayed within that eddy. I was expecting him to take off in that current and I was,
yeah.
I got him flipping, right? At that point I had video up and I was like, okay, if he takes off and breaks off, at least I got that. And
Wow.
I got him up to the beach and, got him up and, yeah, he beat the shit out of me. He hit me in the shoulder, clocked me in the head.
Wow.
He beat the
So
shit out of me.
so are you a lure guy or a fresh bait guy or both?
Yeah, now all lures.
All lures. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever been
So
stung by
I
a
don't target.
stingray?
What?
Fuck no, I don't want to get stung by a stingray. You ever heard that story? You ever heard that story of John Smith, right, the explorer here in Virginia, Jamestown, all that stuff? There's a point called Stingray Point in Virginia, and so John Smith he had already done the entire bay, right? Almost got killed by natives. He went all the way up to near Susquehanna's while explored the whole area, mapped it out. On
Mhm.
his way back home, right? He's on his way back to Jamestown, and he's feeling all cocky and shit. And he sees a bunch of rays, and he's like, oh, "I'm gonna fucking get one for dinner." He takes a sword, stabs it. The thing gets him in his arm, and he thought he was gonna die. They dug a grave for him on shore because they thought he was going to die that night. So
Wow.
yeah, fuck stingrays. So that's called Stingray Point. That's why it's called Stingray Point up in the northern neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There's
do a
been
lot of
times we're in a field of, and it's like, man, if you go in, just hopefully you die because you don't want to live through that shit.
yeah. So as a pioneer in kayaking and kayak fishing, do a lot of people do what you did now there? Do they do the tours? Do they do adventure trips like you did or like that?
There's just one guy that's doing in a pedal boat. He did half the bay, so he went up and went up
Mm.
up the bay. But nobody paddles anymore, so it's
Yeah.
all kind of in that realm. Um, Rick did say he saw some paddlers out last year, which was
Mhm.
cool. It's like, oh shit.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
asked, are they paddlers? Like, are they just paddlers because they can't afford to pedal boat, or are they actually like paddlers? He
Yeah.
said, yeah,
Now,
they're into it. It's like, so maybe
interestingly,
there's hope for paddle.
I got a friend here in Nebraska, Tim Berry, and his wife. They paddled the entire Missouri River last summer and the Mississippi down to the Gulf. 104
Nice.
141 days. What's the
Yeah.
most days you've been out?
It was 4.5 months. On my
Wow.
big tour. Yeah.
2.5
And the
months.
last one I did was 16 weeks. It was almost there too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
15 on the
great.
water, but yeah, 16 weeks out.
So, do you take off work or something, or
Yeah, I quit jobs to do that shit.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about, bro.
Oh man,
Your
that's
kayak
awesome.
fishing sounds like my drug addiction. I love it, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was straight up kayak
Good
bum,
job.
straight up.
That's the quote. That's the quote of the week right there, Trey. I quit job to do this.
I had a kid tell me today. He said he dropped out of high school to play Fortnite, and I was like, oh my god, that was crazy. But yeah,
Man, that's a good one though. That is a good one. And then, have
Yeah,
you had any companies reach out to you and help like sponsor some of the things you do?
yeah. The only tour that was sponsored was my last one. All
Okay,
the other tours was,
you just
fucking
did
going
it.
broke, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I get it.
but the last one, Ocean Kayak sponsored that, and Yak Attack sponsored that. So they actually totally sponsored that tour.
That's good.
When I went down and
Cool.
did the Florida one.
That's all.
But yeah, otherwise just, regular sponsors throughout.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of sponsors through recently, but we're still on Kokatat, Avco, and Bend and Branches. So, I
Okay.
mean, Aquabound. Yeah.
that
Aquabound.
You
Avco's
said Bend and Branches
that's a
earlier.
good one, bro. That's a really good sponsor there. I seen that on
Yeah.
your website.
Yeah.
They're hard. That's a hard one to they don't. That's not just your everyday sponsor. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked with them, man. I'm stoked with them for sure. I love it.
Yeah. Do you know a lot of other kayak anglers from across the country or just ones locally?
Yeah. A lot of Florida guys, yeah, Dion. I know D. Yeah, yeah. Throughout especially the early years, when it
Yeah.
started to blow up, and when all the internet started coming in together, we started meeting each other and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah, I've had a good opportunity to meet a lot of people. So that's
Well,
been great.
you
The Texas guys,
yeah.
missed a lot of those guys. The dealers conference. So when the Ocean Kayak crew would get together, I'd meet all the Texas guys.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was the Texas guys, the Florida folks, just that whole family of everything.
Huh.
It was cool back in those days.
Oh
It
yeah.
was
And
it was,
D. Kaminsky? You know D. Kaminsky?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so, man,
yep,
I hope that we can get something written where we get all this together and organized. That's why this effort's taking place is so that the people hear these stories because I didn't know your whole story, and by just reading the articles, that's not enough. What you're telling us, man, you're you're just an incredible adventurer. What'd you say, Troy? The adventure part of it.
Yeah, and I think I love your website. I think that what I can find is that you stopped. Now, did you stop up? So fall of 2016 on your catch report on kayak on that I think kayakkevin.com. Was that really when
yep.
you stopped doing like the catch report? Was that fall of 2016?
Yeah, well, it was started doing more on the social media, so it was more doing reports on there. Went through a time of video where like you couldn't post full length videos on YouTube or Instagram, or not YouTube, but Facebook and Instagram. So I had to break those up. And I didn't post those on YouTube for a while, and then I didn't. When I left for the tour, I got rid of cable and internet and cable. So when I came back, I didn't have internet and cable, so I was just able to like download when I was at work. I was working retail at a kayak shop at that point, at Max River Company, and so I was like uploading videos when I was just, I started and and working, while I was there when I had internet access. Then I finally got a phone that could do it. And so I started getting back on to uploading videos and doing that stuff. But I like doing the videos because it's just one, I get to like relive that day when I'm editing it, right? So if I do it like the next day, it's pretty fun to like remind myself of it. And I don't get a lot of views, so I'm not like pushing for views much anymore. I don't get many views, but I like it for myself,
Yeah,
especially the river stuff. It's
yeah,
a good learning curve. Like running through the rapids, sometimes I flip and I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know what I hit, right? And I can look at the video and go, "Oh, there's a rock right there you didn't see." Make sure you remember that shit's there next time. You learn from that. The different levels. I'll look at a video now as I know I'm going to the river and it's this many feet. I'll look at the last time I went and that's that level just to remind myself of the rapid if I haven't been at that level in a while, right? So it's a great tool for that, right? The learning curve, especially in the rivers, was really good. But I just love making the videos and putting them out because I don't do anything fancy. There's no music, there's no narration, I don't have to do all that stuff anymore. Here's my day.
yeah,
And, I don't cut them up into many pieces and try to get posts.
yeah,
That's that one day. I went
I love
fishing
your
this
website.
past day.
yeah. It's authentic.
I
I'll
love
get
your
a website
website.
up
I
here.
think your website, your website is really simple. I love
Yeah.
it. I like how you have just the little simple, um, the little links up top from home. Then we have that Catch Report 16 podcast videos, kayak. I love how simple that is. I mean, I would love to see, and I know you say you're doing more in like YouTube and stuff like that, but I feel like this website, this kayakkevin.com, I mean, dude, I think you have, and you probably already know this, you have everything here that's really easy to kind of understand. You have all the links to these different places. And, I don't know. I don't know a ton about stuff, but this to me is really cool, especially when you just have these really, really simple pull down menus up top that you can basically go in there. There's none under videos and stuff like that, but I just really like that, man. I think you got something there, and I love that you still at least have it. So
Yeah, I don't think I've downgraded the price of it basically. So I don't think I can do any more to it, but I'm just trying to keep it up, right? I pay $200 a year to just keep that shit up because it's a pretty decent resource if you want to go back and look. It's just like when I was talking about the tagging program, right? When I was part of the tagging program, I got books of years of citations to be able to look back on as a resource. And that website's that, you can go back and look at 10 years ago at
yeah,
what was going on in this area, in each month, each season is in there or each month is in there, you know,
Wow, there's some good stuff on here. Yeah, yeah.
some old pictures, drifters. That's how old those
there's
pictures
his
are.
dad. Hey, go back up. There was his dad. Hey, his
Yeah.
dad was a gangster, bro. Look at him. That's your dad standing up in the canoe right there.
Yeah.
That's what's
My
up.
dad was huge.
That's
But that
what's
was,
up.
my dad was, I come from like two high end athletes. My mom was a marathon winner. She wasn't just like winning women's division. She was winning the marathon,
No.
right? She's at that level. My dad, All-American wrestler, of Virginia Tech,
Oh wow.
coach. So I wrestled from the time I was an infant until I was in my teens because, you get over it at that point. You
Was
forced
that
to
a
fucking wrestle all the
was that a shrimp you were using as bait there? Go up.
time.
Go up.
A
Right there.
fake
What
shrimp.
is that?
It's a big, just plastic shrimp.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I throw shrimp imitations of those things all the time.
Look at all them stripers loaded up right there.
Yeah, that's like the only good picture I've gotten from the light line back in the day.
What's a
Scroll back
light
down.
line? What's a light line?
The- This is that picture right there. Go back, go back. That one. So no,
That
back down.
that
The
one.
one with all that. There's a picture of that. The light line is we talk about the HRBT where I used to fish when I first started. The light line is the shadow of the light from the bridge. So the bridge with the light, street lights, it creates a real vivid shadow line. So the stripers would use that as an ambush spot, use it as cover. So down current, the fish, bait would get swept into them and they just line up on that line and whack them. And then we get behind them and pick off the big ones out of them.
It's kind of like
Sight test to
it's
the
kind of
big
like a mud line, but it's a light line. Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, do you remember the website? It was gosh darn, what was the name of that? Remember the old website? It was a kayak fisherman's website, Kayak Angler. What was that? We had kayak. Oh man, do you remember that? You got points for posting and stuff. Were you on that site?
I don't remember that one.
Okay,
I don't remember that one.
that was a big. Rob Choi was on that one, and I remember that's where I found out the Maryland's connection, and I knew you were out there. I knew this kayak Kevin, but I didn't know what he did and stuff. But and same with Dean Thomas. But now hearing, gosh, this is incredible. And again, Trey, can you believe all this was happening and we didn't even know each other was doing it? That's what's weird, you know.
Yeah.
Where today, if Trey puts a new device on his kayak and posts it on social media, it's instant across the entire country. Everybody's doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like
Yeah.
like Easton Fothergill wins the Bassmaster Classic with a Nico rig. The hook that he used is sold out everywhere.
No, it's not.
Right.
And it's
I
what's
I
funny.
found it too.
I actually bought. I got the 1/0, and I
Yeah.
actually bought that last night off eBay. I paid $12 for 5 of them. But I found that we'll say it. We know what it is. It's the talisman, and
Yeah, yeah, but
you
still.
can't find it. But I did find it last night. I found the 1/0, so I got it coming.
But my point is, though, is that when somebody figures something out in today's world, it's instant across the entire world. Where how fast would we have evolved if we had today's technology, Kevin?
Right. Right. It's way different. Like I said, it
Yeah.
took me 3 years to not beat the shit out of the water with my paddle. Right. It took me 3 years to smooth that shit out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. If you
and
and today you can watch instructional how to paddle.
yeah,
I say look at Olympic paddlers,
yeah,
look at Olympic slalom paddlers. They got the perfect form. It's just super fast, right?
and
You just
and
take that and slow it down. But if I didn't have that back in the day.
right. At
I
the
had a
same
book
time,
and
though,
figure it out.
yeah, at the same time, though, they're not even paddling today, most people. They're just like got
Yeah. Yeah.
motors or they got pedals, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
guilty of it. I'm not guilty, but, I have for me, I have a motor and pedals, but a lot of it's because I wanna get somewhere and I wanna have spot lock, but I don't wanna have it do it for me. I do it with my feet, you know? So I'm always moving. Like
Right.
today, a guy had a motor out in the lake. I was out there, and I pedaled probably 6 or 7 miles on several times on the lake and, got a good workout in. Because I had a guy the other day
Yeah.
say, "I don't kayak fish for the workout. I kayak fish to catch fish." Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So everybody
Yeah.
has their own. Go
I'll
ahead.
paddle 6 miles just to get away from people. That's like a normal one of
Yeah,
my normal spots in the summertime is 6 miles from the ramp in the
yeah,
opposite way of everybody else. And I will get out there. I don't my goal now, I'm 54 years old, so I'm getting there, right? So my goal now is to not hear engine noise. So I'll paddle miles to not hear an engine noise
yeah,
because I work on an engine, right?
yeah,
I'm a cyborg with an engine 40 hours a week, right?
yeah,
40,
yeah,
50 hours a week in the summertime.
yeah,
So when I get out there, I don't want any of that. No
yeah,
electronics, no nothing, no mechanics, no noise. I might hear a plane go over. I might hear a boat a mile away,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that's not going to be consistent, right? I don't want to be around anything. In the rivers, right? Even though I'm kind of in the city, the rapids are like bleeding out any kind of noise I'm hearing. And there's some spots in the rivers that you turn a
yeah.
corner and the sound just shuts off. You
Wow.
know, you get
Yeah,
some good spots like that.
that's
But yeah,
awesome.
that's kind of like been my goal
Yeah, that's awesome.
as I've gotten in old age.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. I'm about 11 years older, 12 years older than you, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
starting to feel, but I still love paddling, man. I still love paddle. I don't even like even in the national champion, the Bassmaster Championship, I did not have my motor on in practice. But I needed
hmm
it to get to the place first where I wanted
yeah.
to go in the
When you're
tournament.
doing tournaments, man, that's a different thing. You get,
Yeah,
once everybody has the motors, you can't kind of do it without the motor, right? So you kind of have to
yeah,
compete with that. Just like if you're, one person's on steroids, like the enhanced games, right? They're going to
yeah,
do a whole Olympics with steroids,
yeah,
and yeah. So it's kind of like that thing. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't get sore from paddling. I get some more sore from fishing. I'll get more
Yeah.
worn out from casting
Yeah.
than I actually do from paddling. My paddling muscles are just so on, and my technique is good
Yeah.
where it doesn't affect me. Even if I take a couple weeks off, like in the wintertime, I
Hmm.
get on, like me and Rick went out and did this Dismal Swamp paddle. I think it
Hmm.
was like 8 miles. Felt great.
Yeah.
Never was sore from it. Last time I went fishing, casting crankbaits, and that shit hurts.
Yeah.
That shit hurts at the end of the day. I've
Sure.
learned how to cast both hands. I learned how to cast left-handed just
Yeah.
because I was getting worn out on
Yeah.
on my right side.
I get.
So I've learned how to cast left-handed.
I got arthritis in both thumbs
Yeah,
from
yeah.
so much.
My fingers are starting to curve. You're
Yeah.
starting to get that curve in your fingers.
I'm
You
starting to
know.
get curves everywhere. Not my type curve either. So anyway, so anything else you want to talk about, Kevin?
Just on this right now is getting older, man. Is staying active,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then also stretching. I do a lot of stretching and a lot of like active stretching. So uh, it's every morning and every evening, and it's a
Mhm.
good,
Mhm.
15, 20 minute routine that I do in the evening. It's
Right.
probably the most important one. The morning's good, but the evening one's the most important one. And I got a pull up bar and I hang,
Mhm.
right? I do these hangs multiple times. I do a side hang. I stretch bicep. I stretch triceps. Then I
Yeah.
do lower back stretches, leg
Mhm.
stretches, and then I get on the floor and do this whole twisting routine, right? So
Yeah.
I stretch out, and then on top of that is just staying active, just
Yeah.
staying moving,
Yeah.
just
I,
staying moving. That's one of the keys to it.
ironically, I do the same thing. I call it dynamic mobility and stability.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
a lot of stuff with, especially the hips, lower
yeah,
back, upper back, stuff like that. And because a lot of these guys, our age, or in little, you're a little younger than me, but a lot of guys that are my age, they have had back surgery because of all this wear and tear on them. And not that they didn't move, they
right,
just did a lot. But people,
right.
I know Trey, like, what are you in you're 40 yet? I can't remember.
45.
45. So a lot of these guys in their 30s and 40s, they're in a kayak, you know, you would think that they would do some mobility because as they get older, if you're just doing one motion all the time, it's going to affect you later on. And that's where
Yep.
you're right. You just got to keep moving all the time. Like in the winter, I walk a lot and do those dynamic mobility
Mhm.
exercises. I do strength almost about every day, something with strength every day.
Yeah, I do 80 push-ups, 80
Yeah.
squats a day. I do
Yeah.
the same thing
That's cool.
at work. I do it at work, so it's just
Yeah.
boom, get off the lift, boom, boom, knock them out.
Yeah.
Um, talking about the wear and tear, man. That's why I started the left-handed shit,
Yeah.
right? And it took me a decade to learn how to do that,
Yeah.
but you just slowly learn how to cast left-handed,
Yeah.
and now I can, it helps because you just cast right-handed all day long, and it's going to wear you out, right? You're going to get.
Yeah.
I learned how to try to be. I'm not naturally ambidextrous either. I try to learn how to do it,
Yeah.
and when I was, was young and I was cutting grass, was weeding, and I realized my one side of my body was getting weird from holding the weed eater one side, right? So I
Mhm.
started switching and learned how to do it left-handed,
Yeah.
and then I learned I never had to walk backwards. I could always walk forward if you learn how to be ambidextrous with the weed eater.
Yeah.
Right. So that was something I was okay, balancing the body out that way.
Oh
And
yeah.
then it was snowboarding. Like even skateboarding and snowboarding, when I would go backwards, go fakie, there's a shift in the mind where it becomes normal. That
Mhm.
you're when you first do it, you're going backwards, but there's a shift in the mind where now this is forward,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
it's kind of that's how that ambidextrous thing works, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
learned how to cast left-handed,
Yeah.
but it took me lobbing big baits first, right? That's how I first started doing it, right? Lobbing big baits, and then it was
Right.
slowly like smaller stuff, and then more accurate. And then I did that last Florida tour in mangroves, and now I'm trying to get under these trees left-handed, right? And if I really had to do it at that point, I was like 75% accurate, and I would do it right-handed.
Mhm.
But now on the rivers, I got banks, so I'm like left. This side goes left-handed, this side goes right-handed, and it's gotten fluid, which saves me because if I was because all I do is throw crankbaits and smallies. I don't do any other baits. I only throw crankbait. So it's constant firing.
Yeah.
Because I do floats, right? So I'm
Yeah.
always on the river, and it's always like, it's a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
You're constantly moving, you're hitting the next target, right? Some bass guys will do the river floats with us, and they'll get stuck on a tree, and we're going around the bend. It's like, come on, what are you doing? There's another tree right here.
Wow.
Keep going.
Wow.
We got 6 more miles to do.
Fascinating. Okay.
But it helps. Like just being overall active, trying to stretch yourself out, learn how to do ambidextrous shit. If one side gets worn out,
Yeah.
it helps. It helps a lot.
So I got an idea, Trey. We're gonna do like a game show type thing with Chad Hoover, Dean Thomas, and Kayak Kevin Whitley at the same night.
We need Dennis Spike.
And Dennis Spike, yeah.
We got to have him on there too.
We got to have all four and make it like a game show, like with questions.
That'd be good. And to wrap this up, I do have some questions. I have a couple questions for Kev.
Go ahead.
But I want to do that. Sounds like a good thing, Marty, where we got questions and like we got them up there, and we'll have a prize for the winner.
Yeah, and they got to answer these questions.
You can only pick one crankbait. What are you picking? Which one is it? You said crankbaits. I love crankbaits. You only pick one. What is it?
It would be Man's minus Baby One in Texas Roach. Yeah,
and
that's summertime. What's that?
This is for what kind of fish?
Oh, smallies.
Smallie.
I throw crankbait for smallies.
That's a French scalish.
So tell us that again. It's a Man's what?
Man's Baby minus one.
Yeah.
And Texas Roach. So it's gold with a chartreuse tail.
Yeah. All right. So my next question is, you're getting in your kayak. You're going to an island. I've got 2 more questions. So you're going to be out there for 6. You're going to get out there for 6 months. You could take 7 things with you. Okay. So you got your backpack. You got your kayak. You could take 7 things with you. You got to live out there for 6 months. What are you taking, Kevin?
I'll figure out some way to get water. Right. First thing is water. So 6 months with the water, I don't know what that would be a tough one
so
without being able to refill. Was that?
So are you saying a purifier? Some type of purification system?
Some kind of purification system. Somehow get the water covered. That's the first thing. Right. So all my tours, the whole game of the tour is I need to go forward, but I need to be able to get to the next water stop. Right. That's the whole thing when I did these kayaking tours, these solo things. I just get to the next water spot. I get this many days. I need to get to this next spot. This is going to have a marina here. I can fill up my waters here. So that was the whole game. So water is the most important thing. And then, of course, shelter.
Okay. You got some kind of shelter. I need 6 items you can take with you. It could be a knife. It could be line. It could be a fire starter. Give me 6 more items of things that you're going to put in your backpack.
Well, a tent, right? So you got water purifier, tent, fire starter, probably a hand. Am I going out to the island? 6 months. My fishing gear is going to get destroyed within 6 months right out there. So I'll take a hand line.
A hand line, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because fishing gear nowadays sucks. Unless you're buying $400 reels, that shit ain't gonna last in the saltwater, right? Although I got some decent ones that actually have lasted me more than one season now, so I'm pretty happy with them. But yeah, it's been tough trying to find reels that last in the saltwater, especially because a paddler, you get paddle drips, you lay your rod right in front of you, it's constantly getting inundated with salt water. I give my reels to the guy to clean them up, and he was like, "What the fuck are you surf fishing with these? Are you throwing them in the sand?" I mean, it says they're so gunked up. It's like I'm in the sand with them. It's like, no, man, it's just get water on them. So a hand line. How many is that? So I'm at
2 more. You got 4.
2 more. We've got 4. A hand line. This is funny. Is a production company wanted to do a TV show, and they wanted me to be a survival expert. I was like, 1 episode, and you're gonna find out I'm not a survival expert.
Okay.
I mean, I take all my shit with me and then go get some more shit when I get run out of shit, and then go take some shit with me for a week, and then go get more shit. No, so yeah, hand line, yes, yeah, fire starter, hand line, tent,
Water,
uh,
water.
water. Let's see what else. Machete.
Okay, there you go.
Um, yeah, and a Ruger 1022.
All right, you needed the but you ain't gonna have no bullets because the gun is one,
Ah,
bro.
oh yeah, okay.
You taking a bow?
Oh, that'll probably be a better idea. Yeah.
A bow.
Ruger 1022 is such a good like survival weapon, though. I mean, it's such a good survival
Right.
gun.
You
Small
just seem
game,
like one of the dudes that have like one of them blowguns, bro.
dude. I learned a slingshot before the last tour because I was going to go kill iguanas and eat them when I
That'd
went
be
to Florida on my last tour. I literally got a slingshot and Gene, Gene, Gene. I gave it to Gene because I was like, I'm not seeing any iguanas. But I learned, I got good at it in my backyard. I was hitting cans at like 20 yards, banging them. It was good. I had a lot of fun with it, but it didn't see any iguanas.
I got two more questions and I'll
Okay.
be done. So my next question is: so you use braid on all your spinning reel? I
Yeah,
want to know
I don't
what
use
your
any spinning reels.
okay, but you use braid, right? I want to know what your somebody that goes through a lot of braid. You go through braid. You've tested it. You've casted it. What is you can pick one braid company. What's your favorite braid? The money isn't
I
an issue.
just
I don't care
regular
about money.
regular Power Pro. I don't like the slick stuff. I like Power Pro. It's got a little bit of grip to it, and I also use 50-pound braid for like regular stuff, like small fish, and that's mainly because I can't feel anything smaller or see it. Well, if it gets a knot, I can't feel it to get it out of there.
Okay.
So 50-pound braid. I like Power Pro. I like the noise that it makes. Right. I like that that noise that it makes.
Right.
It's just always worked for me. I don't like the smooth stuff. I like the regular old Power Pro.
And the last question, the famous one: what is you can only pick one piece of seafood to eat for the rest of your life. It's the only fish you can eat, or whatever. You can do a crustacean. What is going to be your go-to seafood?
Black sea bass because we can't get them inside the bay.
All right.
I can't target them in the kayak.
Oh,
Yeah, they're offshore. If they were inside the bay, I'd kill those things, but I can't. We don't get them. They 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 grow up in the bay. They're nursery size, so they're real small.
are they good?
Occasionally you get one, but it's not a regular thing.
Are they
So it would
good?
be black sea bass. They're really good. Yeah,
They're
they're
good to
really
eat?
good eating.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
the white sea bass in California is. It's really good.
yeah.
Yeah, there.
Yeah. They're smaller fish, I think the citation size is like 24 inches. So, they max out about
Yeah,
26, so about 5, 6 pounds, 7 pounds in
yeah.
that range, maybe 5, 6 pounds. Yeah.
Now,
But they're good. But you got to get them offshore.
yeah. Are you still kayak fishing quite a bit then?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I went Sunday, Monday. I went the Wednesday before that. It's coming out of winter too, so I'm just starting to get back into it. But I'll go at least once a week, a lot of times twice a week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still, and where I'm at now, like I said, I don't bait fish anymore. So a lot of species I don't do anymore. So I don't do the spade fish, that was a lot of fun. Sheep's head, tautog. I don't do tautog because we do it in the winter and arthritis. That was one of the first things that I told my guys that I was like, I might not be able to do this anymore. The cold and the wet cold started getting my hands right. It was getting sketchy where I couldn't function really well. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna have to back out of tautog fishing now. And then eventually I just got to the bait. Bait's a pain in the ass to get. It's just one of those things that if you're going sheep's head fishing or whatever, you have to get bait. You got to get fillers. You got to get that shit on Wednesday if you're going to go on the weekend, right? You got to secure your bait around here ahead of time a lot of times.
Hmm.
And I just got overdoing that. Lost some species, but I got tired of doing that, just trying to work that whole area. So basically, all I do now is anything I can throw at artificials at. So basically I've gone down to two species. I target red drum. I exclusively sight cast the red drum, and target smallies in the whitewater runs. That's basically all I do now. And so, I've gotten to my this part of my my age where I just like just doing that stuff.
So if we were to come out and do a trip with you, like just go kayak fishing, what's the best time of year?
Summertime's good. We can go sight some reds.
Okay.
Yeah. High 20-inch to 30-inch reds. Yeah. Have you've done sight casting before, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fly rod.
So we got clear enough water. Yeah. And my favorite place to do it is in the surf zone. So, I don't do it in high waves, but I do it in like small waves in the summertime. So if you get flipped in, it's no big deal. It's a lot of fun.
I've never flipped
because they're right in the surf. What's that?
I've never flipped ever.
No, I've only been knocked out of my boat. It's actually on video. On the second DVD, I was filming. So I picked up my bow camera. I was filming some reds moving through the surf. I leaned forward to put the bow camera back on, and a wave broke right next to me. And as I'm trying to sit down, it basically clips me, and I flip out of the boat. It's a total like feet over, head in the water, feet upside down. It was fucking great.
Wow.
Other times I've been knocked out where I've been standing, looking the other way, and a wave has come up behind me. I lost my balance. I'm basically just jump out. That's in saltwater. I flipped probably about 30 times in the rivers.
Oh yeah,
I flipped so many times in the rivers that I've got a complete system, a check system that I go through when I flip, and I can get back in control of my boat within 15 seconds.
Wow.
So I can get it back in between rapids. I can get back in and go, be in control of the boat.
Man, that's incredible.
It's from flipping a lot.
Yeah, right. You've learned by doing a lot of things.
Yeah. But the river stuff is really fun because it kind of sparked off a new territory for me. Because I love maneuvering. It was one of my favorite things when I was maneuvering my 16-foot boat underneath the bridge at the HRBT. Right, it was one of my favorite things to do. Is when you make that move and you get in there and you like make it. It's like it feels good. And so I wanted to learn whitewater maneuvers to fish in these rapids. So like my whole thing was like, okay, I want to learn how to do an eddy turn and make that cast and catch a fish while I'm making the eddy turn. And I got that shit now. So I finally, after 8 years, I finally got that shit smooth.
We got to
get. So I've been doing river for 8 years.
Huh?
What does that stand for? What does HRBT stand for?
Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. So it's one of the bridges here down in this area.
That was his nickname for a long time.
Yeah, HRBT named it.
Yeah.
Because he was so stealthy in there. Okay.
It was the bandit. He's in the shadows.
We're going to finish up here. So, man, we thank you so much, Kevin. This has been good. This is a good one, Trey. This is a good one.
I still didn't get on the long tour. I still didn't get on the what else we get on? There's some other stuff that we kind of got off of. But yeah.
Let's do this. We'll do a part 2 with you as well.
All right.
Is that okay? We'll talk about the long trip. And because that story there is incredible. What you did, and because I like to write about that too. But we'll do that because we're doing one with Chad too, and then we're gonna do one with we're gonna get all 4 of you guys on. Man, it's gonna be fun.
I think I touched on a little bit talking about when I was but we didn't get too much into detail. There's some good stories on that one too.
But we got a lot of stuff here though that people can listen to. Now this will be on Spotify. People can drive and listen to it, and stuff. So it's on a podcast, cool. And you'll see the link of it, Kevin. I'll get it to you.
Right on.
We may or may not have a photo of Chad Hoover that we're trying to get. We're trying to get this photo that is lost in transition, but we're going to find it. Yeah,
we're going to get it. Now, one quick thing. When you were in the Marines, where were you stationed at when you were doing your basic training?
Oh, Parris Island. I'm East Coast. So Parris Island.
You're East Coast. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank
And
you.
it wasn't like I was in during Clinton, so I was in 92, 94. So it was in Clinton. Wasn't a combat Marine, I was a mechanic. It was a 1142 electrical equipment repair specialist. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to do too much cool shit.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
So
serving our country, man. Appreciate
I
it.
went in because of the Rodney King riots.
Yeah. Wow.
I saw that and I was like, yeah, my wrestling skills ain't going to help me in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Trey. Anything else?
Dude, it was an honor just sitting here talking to you, man.
Man, that's good
It
stuff.
makes me
Thank you,
want to be
guys.
better. It makes me want to be a better kayak angler. Um, shows me how much I don't know and how much I need to know. And you're just an inspiration to me. I'm sure, people that talk to you or watch you or people you just meet at the ramp or I'm sure you're an inspiration to them too. So I'm glad I'm looking forward to two. So
It's
Well,
just,
thank you, man. Appreciate having me on, man. Haven't
yeah,
done interviews in a while. Haven't done anything like this in a while, so it's kind of an honor for me too. So I appreciate it.
yeah.
what's your Facebook? What's your Facebook name? How do people reach out to you or like you or what's that?
Yeah, just kayak. Look for Kayak Kevin. It's Kayak Kevin Whitley, but just look for Kayak Kevin, it'll come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying.
Yeah, my Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm not on like TikTok or any shit like that.
Who's your favorite football team?
Don't watch football. I watch fights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do
So
you
like
want a golden
my buddy
retriever?
asked me the other day, what's that?
Do you want a golden retriever?
No, that's a cool dog though.
That's Henry. So I actually started training dogs when I was in prison. Now I'm a dog trainer here in Columbia on Backyard Canine. Dogs are a huge part of my recovery and huge part of kind of my story. But yeah, this is
Hell
my
yeah.
it's my better half right here.
Yeah, those are great dogs, man, for sure. We get them a lot around here. We see them a lot around here, so they're definitely cool. Definitely cool.
All right. Okay, we're good, man. We're gonna get you back on though, so I'll be in touch with you.
Yeah,
Man,
cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
yeah, good job, and the viewers, thank you guys for being on here. There'll be a lot of people watch us through the week or whatever. So, and like I said, we have the history now of Kayak Kevin Whitley.
I kind of jumped around a little bit, but
Okay, we're gonna end it. We're gonna end the broadcast.